I'm in Golden, Colorado at the Jefferson County Government Center, and I'm here to break a rather obscure record. But in order to do that, I need to get on that train over there. So let's find our seat, then I'll see if I can explain what I'm trying to accomplish today. So today I'm attempting the RTD Rail Challenge, which... Okay, Editor Michael here. The explanation that Train Michael gave was absolutely horrible and didn't even cover half the points that he meant to cover. So I'm fixing it for him. Basically, the RTD Rail Challenge is a challenge created by Greater Denver Transit, and the challenge was inspired by the London Tube Challenge or the New York City Subway Challenge, where people will try to ride their city's entire rail transit network in the shortest time possible. Now, the current record was set by Justin Bai, aka Mark Slane on Twitter, in August of 2022, and his record was 8 hours and 30 minutes. I spent about a week and a half researching off and on, and I couldn't find a single route under 9 hours until I had a pretty major epiphany that got me to 8.5 hours. With that, I decided to set up on the challenge and see if I could actually visit all 72 train stations in the Denver metro area in 8.5 hours. The timer starts as soon as the train moves. There's a really great view of the mountains here pulling out of Golden. Really appreciate that. Now, if you take a look just to the left of that tall building on the right side of the shot, there you'll get your first glimpse of the day of the Denver skyline, and there's a train going by to block it off for you, but don't worry, there are plenty more to come. And then here's some really great transit-oriented development going up, and I didn't get a great shot of this, but I did try, and I felt like it was really strange that the W line cuts this park right in half. I mean, just as much grass as you're seeing on this side of the train, there's equally as much on the other side, and of course they fenced off the train line, so you can't even really get from one side of the park to the other on foot. And here's a much better view of the skyline at Auraria West. Now, Auraria is essentially the campus for 2 universities and a community college, all on the edge of downtown Denver. And as we round this corner, you can still see the Denver skyline pretty well. And I thought it was really nice seeing so many mall ride buses just waiting at the platform as we pulled into Union Station. While it's not a rail line like this video is really focused on, this is essentially the backbone of Denver's downtown transit, and typically it would run down 16th Street, which is a pedestrian and bus-only plaza that stretches a mile down the center of downtown. But currently 16th is going under some pretty major renovations, and it's kind of just a big pit right now, but it'll be better by next summer. So I wasn't really able to explain the plan very well on the train. By the way, I'm now at Union Station, made it to Denver, let's go. Plan is to go clockwise around Denver, but it's gonna get a little bit weird when we get to the heavy rail commuter lines. So I have about 20 minutes to catch the next train. We are now at the main train hall at Union Station. I'm looking for the in line, which I believe is on track 2. Yep, that sign confirms track 2. And I've just noticed as I'm walking past that the California Zephyr is here. That's a pretty rare sight here. I think we only get one of those per day. And my timing with the transfer was pretty much perfect here. The inline pulled in right as I got to the platform, although I did accidentally stand on the wrong side, so I had to walk back around, but oh well. Had a quick break for a breakfast burrito, now boarding the inline. And the inline pulled out of the station just about an hour into the challenge, and I figured I'd get a closer look at the California Zephyr here since we were essentially rolling right past it. And here it looks like they're preparing 2 locomotives to couple together is my best guess at what's going on. And as we pulled out of Union Station, it was BNSF locomotives pretty much as far as the eye could see. Seriously though, it was at least a mile of parked trains, probably closer to 2 miles, and also I think this is another great view of the city, but it doesn't come across very well on camera. And I'm pretty sure this is the machine that makes clouds. Let me know if I'm right down in the comments. And it's really interesting with a lot of these newer commuter lines watching the city fade away just into bog standard suburbia. And here's another example of what I mean by that from just about a station further down the line, and at this point we were pretty far out into the suburbs. And as I approached the end of the second line, I was feeling pretty optimistic still.
All passengers, please exit the train and make sure you have all of your personal belongings.
Alright, I just stepped off the train in North Thornton at Eastlake 124th, and this same train's gonna sit here for about 15 minutes before it heads back into Denver, and I've got to catch that next train. We are an hour and 36 minutes in. I think I'm gonna start making my way back on board, might as well, because there's really not much at this station. And one fun fact about the inline is it actually has the state's longest bridge, and most of the view is blocked by a fence, and the story behind that goes that they put that up so people couldn't see the oil refinery, but you can get closer on the interstate and there's no fence there. Now we have our first tight transfer of the day. The A line to the airport leaves in 1 minute, and I have accidentally sat on the far end of the train, but luckily it's just one track over, so should be able to make it no problem. Trying to find a quiet train car. I don't know if I'll be able to. The A line tends to get pretty busy. This is the only commuter rail with 4 cars as well. Oh, look at that. Perfect. Nearly 2.5 hours in, we are pulling out of Union Station right on schedule. I always really appreciate this view of Coors Field as you're pulling into or out of Union. This is really kind of what kicked off development in this part of Denver, and it's pretty cool to see it from this angle. We're not far out of downtown, and we've really picked up quite a lot of speed. I think we're starting to slow down for the next stop, though. Pulling into 38th and Blake, this area has really blown up since the station opened. They were actually going to build a new World Trade Center campus here, and the place where they wanted to put it, they've determined that there's not enough room around it anymore, so now it's going on one of the other lines. I don't recall which one. I think it's the G line, possibly. We're approaching 40th and Colorado here, and this station's kind of in the middle of an industrial area. I believe this is just here for people to get to the airport without having to drive to the airport, which is always a good thing, but the station isn't really much use for commuters other than that. And one of the cool things about the A line is it actually goes past the site of the old airport, and if you look closer there, you'll actually see the old air control tower. I switched sides of the train to showcase how much faster we're going than the traffic on the interstate heading towards the airport. I mean, this is some pretty serious speed. This is one of the reasons why I think the trains in Denver are actually really underutilized. Out on the horizon, if I just zoom in here, there is the airport. We are almost there. Oh, hey, look, an airplane. Can I... My camera won't let me tilt up. This is so sad. Made it to the airport. Now, the rules of the challenge state that I am obligated to take a photo here. Then I get to head back to Peoria. And here's another shot just to drive home how much faster it is to take the train than driving to or from the airport. That's one of my favorite things about rail travel. Well, that's a helpful sign. Second train coming. Now here's the R line, which I believe I'm on for the next hour, all the way as far south as I can take it. Denver's really got to do something about the step up onto these trains. I mean, it's time to invest in some low floor trams, I think. And here's some more transit-oriented development that I was really impressed by. I mean, this apartment building's on top of an IHOP. What more could you ever need in your life? And I had some mixed feelings on the street running portions of the R line, because on the one hand, hey, streetcar, but on the other, you did have to wait at quite a few red lights, which really trains never should have to do. And as we pulled into the Florida station, here on the left side, you're going to get your first glimpse of what's kind of an icon of these older RTD train stations, which is the pedestrian bridge over the interstate. If you ever see one of these in Denver, it's a pretty sure sign that you're driving past the station. and even more transit-oriented development here at the Iliff station, which always makes me really happy to see. And after leaving Iliff, we started picking up quite a lot of speed actually. I'm pretty sure this is near the top speed of these trains, but we were unfortunately still nowhere near as fast as the cars, which is really one of the biggest drawbacks of these older trains versus the new silver liners on the commuter lines. However, not long after, there was actually one vehicle that we were faster than. And I've always thought it would be really interesting to try to do an IKEA trip by train, because this is about a 10-minute walk from the nearest station, so in theory it's doable, but you'd really be limited on what you could actually carry with you. And just across from the County Line station was the fanciest mall I've ever seen in my life. I mean, take a look at this thing. I thought places like this died out at least a decade ago. Leaving the train at Lincoln, I've got about a 15-minute wait here. This line used to go about 2 stops further down, and I am required to go all the way down there, but for the past few years it's been stopping here, so I gotta catch the next train at the station. Very, very strange. I'm not sure why they're doing that. Beeline to RidgeGate, that's where we go.
Stand clear. The doors are closing.
Getting off the train at RidgeGate Parkway. I have a 0-minute transfer here. I'm gonna be really quick with the required photo. And let's go. There's unfortunately a lot of backtracking with this challenge. I made it to I-25 and Broadway station. I have a short stop over here, then I'm catching the D line south. Should be here in about 5 minutes. Also, there's a cool sculpture behind me. I don't think you can see it very well, but it's that yellow thing over there. I don't think I've ever seen an RTD train approach the station without the bells before. Unique experience.
This is the D line to Mineral.
I'm on the D line heading south, and the entire car just got off at Inglewood. So now I have the entire car to myself for the second time today, which is rather nice actually. I decided to stand up to get away from the dots on the window there, but as you can see, the entire car is empty here. This one's another tight connection. We'll see if I'm able to pull it off. And there goes the train I was trying to get. And with it, my hopes at the record. Well, that was a bit of a fake out because I just found a nice place here. Right as I was about to sit down, the other train pulled up. We are finally leaving Littleton Mineral. It's been about 15 minutes since that 0-minute transfer didn't work out. We'll see if I'm able to make that up. I am not giving up yet. I almost missed it, but I'm pretty sure this just north of Littleton Mineral is the maintenance facility for the light rail vehicles. And here's some more great transit-oriented development at Alameda Station. I was actually aware of this one already because this is the train station that's closest to a music festival I like to go to in July, and sometimes I'll like to catch the train into downtown. It's only 10, maybe on the outside 15 minutes from here, so it's very convenient, but again, always makes me happy to see housing near train stations, because if we can make it convenient for people to use alternative forms of transport, that's really better for everyone. I've always found the Theater District Convention Center station really interesting because it's inside of this tunnel here, which makes it sort of the closest thing Denver has to an underground station. And as you pull out of the station, you get this really incredible view of the Big Blue Bear, and look at him, he's just a curious little guy looking at the people inside the convention center. Isn't that great? I think that's great. Alright, I'm now in the downtown loop. I have a lot of transfers to make, so I'm going to explain it. Just over there is 16th in California. From there, I'm catching the L line north to the end of that line, 30th and Downing. Then I have another 0-minute transfer. Fingers crossed I don't get more delayed. And if that happens, I might still be able to make this work. Just got off the train, getting right back on. The train pulled out of 30th and Downing early enough that it looked like I might have still been able to make the 409 B line and therefore at least equal the record. However, just a block later at 29th and Downing, the train stopped and we sat here for about 10 minutes while the train operator did something in the junction box. I can only assume there was a signal failure or something along those lines, and at this point my fate was sealed. Okay, quick update. I've just gotten off of the L line back in the downtown loop, and due to that misconnection in Littleton, as well as what I believe to be a signal fault on the L line, I am not setting the record today, but I will be completing the challenge in spirit. So I think I'm going to take a leisurely stroll from here to Union Station. Should be able to catch the 509 B line. This alleyway always tricks me because it looks like the back entrance to Union Station that I like to use from 16th, but it's not. We're still maybe 5 or so blocks away, but I swear it looks identical. The sun's starting to set, and we're finally getting that just incredible neon sign here. One of my favorite parts of the station. The train should be on track 8, but I don't see it. There it is, just way at the end. I'm at Westminster Station now, and it is very windy. This train behind me is pulling out of the station. It actually has to go up to, I believe, the next one, which isn't even open yet, in order to reverse, because Westminster was never meant to be the terminus of the B line. There's a whole thing between RTD and the BNSF Freight Railway, which owns this train line here. So I've got to wait 19 minutes for the next B line, catch it one stop down to Pecos Junction, then transfer to the G, and that will be my final line, and wow, is it windy. I've retreated to the tunnel underneath the train platform just to get out of the wind. I don't know where this came from. It wasn't like this in Denver, but it is very windy. I'm not sure if you can hear the signs. The signs over here are rattling. So I'm gonna head further into this tunnel. And just about halfway through, it just feels like a light breeze. So I think I'm just gonna stand here and wait until the next train arrives. I hear signals, so I believe the next train's pulling in. Gonna take the elevator back up. And I see the train. It's open. Thank you. I don't know what BR is, but that's where I'm going. just going one stop. Here we are at Pecos Junction. A little bit breezy down here, but really not too bad. I think I've got about a 15-minute wait here for the G line. That'll be my final train of the day. I'm gonna revise that previous statement. It looks like I have a 22-minute wait here. I'm gonna go chill on the bridge out of the wind. Much better up here. I can even see one of my trains here. And here we are, last train of the night.
Please exit the train and make sure you have all of your personal belongings.
I made it. Final station, Wheat Ridge Ward. Final time is 9 hours, 33 minutes, 47.25 seconds. I really had a shot there, if not for that misconnection causing me to have to wait an extra hour for the B line. But honestly, 9.5 hours isn't that bad. A lot of the routes I was planning came out to 9.5 hours. And as far as I'm aware, the most recent attempt of this challenge, or at least the most recent that's been logged online, took 12 hours. So, didn't do too bad for myself by that metric. So I know this whole video I've been talking up how much faster and easier it is to take the trains in Denver, but I have run into one of their biggest pitfalls now, which is I am 7 miles away from the parking garage where I left my car this morning. And if I were to take the train, it would take an hour and a half because I'd have to go all the way back through Denver on the G line, transfer at Union to the W, then take it all the way back to where my car is. So at this point, I think the best option is to take an Uber back to my car and call it a night. Thank you so much for watching if you've made it this far.
There's a slowdown on I-25 North between exits 221 and 223 that is causing a delay. You can avoid it by going via Huron Street, which
I had
saves
no
11
idea.
minutes.